Rio Ferdinand has spoken of the heartbreaking moment he told his children their mum Rebecca was dying, saying, "She's going to go up into the stars." His wife of 6 years died in 2015 after her breast cancer had returned. She was just 34. Days earlier the former England captain had been left to tell their kids Lawrence, 10, Tate, 8, and Tia, 6, that time was running out. Ex-Man United ace Rio, 38, said, "I gazed at my beautiful children, lost for words, searching for a way to begin. I'm afraid I've got to tell you something very, very sad. Mum's not going to be able to get out of here. She's got cancer again and this time she isn't going to get better." They stared at me, wide-eyed, dumbstruck. They've been trying to help her, the doctors, but they can't anymore. She's been strong, and she's tried to get better. But I'm so sorry. Exposure Cavendish She's going to be a star, she's going to go up into the stars as a spirit, and she'll always be there in the sky, looking down on us and… I couldn't go on. Tears were streaming down the children's faces, they were sobbing, crying out. "Why? Why? Why?" They kept wailing, over and over. "What are you talking about?" I tried to explain again, but we were beyond words by then, engulfed in a firestorm of pain. Even now, the memory of that scene is enough to plunge me back into a darkness I never want to see again. As the children broke down and sobbed, I held them tight, staring out of the window. All I could think was, fuck gee hell, could someone please help me? Rio was hit by a second family death this summer when his mum Janice also died of cancer. The football hero opens up about the horrific losses in his autobiography, Thinking Out Loud, exclusively serialized this week in The Sun on Sunday. In The Sun. He tells of the moment his kids last saw Rebecca, how he slept next to her on her final night and held her in his arms as she died. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2013. A double mastectomy and chemotherapy seemed to have worked, but the cancer returned in 2015 and her condition quickly declined. She died after an 8-week battle on May 1. She only came home one more time, for daughter Tia's 4th birthday. Even then she kept her illness hidden as best she could. Rio Ferdinand talks about his emotional turmoil following the death of his wife. Rio said, "By then her liver was failing and her limbs were swelling, her body was covered with bruises and she was suffering explosive nosebleeds. When the time came for the cake, Rebecca lifted Tia so she could blow out her candles. I think she had held on to life so she could see Tia turn 4. It was the last time the children saw her fully conscious and alert." Later, Rio took their kids to the hospital room where Rebecca was sleeping. He recalls, "She lay on her back, pale and unconscious, swaddled in a sinister tangle of tubes and wires connected to a bank of medical machinery that beeped and flashed, cold and sterile." I wanted to rip the wires away to let the children get close enough for one last hug with her all together. Instead, one by one, they took their place at her bedside and kissed their mum goodbye. Once the kids were back at home, Rio returned to the hospital to be with his wife as she slipped away. He said, "To some this may sound strange, possibly even macabre, but to me it felt only natural. I slept in Rebecca's bed that night, curled up beside her for one final time, feeling the warmth drain away from her, while her mum slept on a camp bed by the window." Rio Ferdinand explains why he is still wearing his wedding ring. "I say slept, but I'm not sure either of us did. Really. Any sleep-to-be-had was soon hijacked by dreams so surreal that I would wake with a jolt, confused, until the memory of her death blindsided me again. Even so, I would rather have lain there forever than face the morning when it came, bringing with it all of the grim demands of being newly bereaved." Rio, who made 81 appearances for England, was there the following day as Rebecca died. He writes, "Rebecca lay unconscious, her parents, brother and sister at her bedside. All day I drifted between the two rooms, half mad with grief and disbelief, waiting for the inevitable. At 10:30 that evening Rebecca's brother appeared at the door. 'You'd better come now.' I stood at the head of the bed, leaning over my wife's fragile body, wrapped my arms around her and held her as she died. After Rebecca died, Rio sank into despair. He turned to drink and even contemplated suicide. The defender was plagued with remorse for failing to plan her death with her and had no idea how to do basic domestic stuff. Rio writes, "There was so much she could have put in place for her kid's future without her, and I didn't allow that to happen. Most nights, come 3 a.m., I would be awake, driven half mad by a carousel of regret. Why didn't I tell her I loved her all the time?